Hey guys, and welcome back to the Peteytown Piranhas, a college football 26 team builder dynasty. In this episode, we're going to be going through year 25 of the program, and we have a lot of streaks that we like to keep going. We have not lost a regular season game in 15 straight seasons. We have a winning streak of 14 in the Big Ten championship game, and in all those years, we have not lost one of those conference games. And then, of course, we have 8 straight undefeated seasons, all ending in national championships. And we have that game streak at 128, which is very impressive. And then we have a main goal this year of winning another national championship, which would give us the second most all time behind Yale. That would give us 17, and they have 18. So definitely something that we're eyeing as this dynasty starts coming to a close in a few seasons at year 30. So got some time to do it, but we'd like to do it this year, of course. And to start it all off, we're going to look at the schedule that we're going to be facing, then we're going to look at the team that we're working with, and then we're going to look at our initial recruiting board, and then we'll get into the season. And if you like what you're watching, you can give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. To open our year, we're going to host TCU, and then we're going to travel to Death Valley to take on Clemson. Then we're going to host Oklahoma State. Then we get into Big Ten Conference play with Illinois and Michigan and Northwestern. Then we're going to take on Iowa, then go out of conference to play Florida. Then it's time to go to Oregon, then host Nebraska, then travel to Minnesota, and then finally host Washington to end the year. The Peteytown Piranhas will enter the year ranked number 1 with 99s across the board, and we have 5 99 true overall players on the roster. We got Reed Cantwell at tackle, then John Callaway at edge, Bruce Speed at linebacker, LaShawn Fausha at safety, and then quarterback Stanley Turner. And we got Damian Cummings in the mix at 97 overall, but he's got 99 with tactician boosts, and he's a guard. The Davey O'Brien Award winner from last year, Stanley Turner, will return at quarterback for us, of course. And then at halfback will be David Rawlings, with Tony Everett coming in for different packages. At fullback will be senior Shakir Ferris. At wide receiver will be Manuel Monday, DeMarco Baskerville, Roland Marvin, and then you got Keontae Abbott and Adrian Crumpler making appearances. At tight end, we're going to have Dwayne Woodhead, and behind him is very exciting freshman Andre McNitt. Then at the offensive line, we're going to have Reed Cantwell, of course, at left tackle. At left guard will be our guy Damian Cummings. At center, we're going to have Zach Feely. At right guard will be Romeo Vigil, moving over from tackle. Then at right tackle, we're going to have Isaiah Jocelyn. On defense, of course, at left edge will be John Callaway. Then Trevor Tavares will come in for different packages at defensive tackle. And then on right edge will be Ed Henderson. Then at the other defensive tackle spots will be Antoine Willett, Marquez Smith, and Manuel DeLuca. Then at outside linebacker will be Bruce Speed. In the middle will be Javier Paella. Then the other outside linebacker will be George Otis. Then at cornerback, we're having Nick Granson fill in as the number 1 guy with Jordan Awama on his other side. And a little thing that I tried last year and worked out pretty well, so going to do it again where we have our best guy at the number 2 spot. Then we're also going to have Carl Smith come out there on the outside, as Nick Granson will be our slot cornerback. And then at free safety will be LaShawn Fausha. And then at strong safety will be Alfonso Harris, along with Billy Davis and extra safety packages. Then at kicker, we're going to have freshman Trent Hickman, and at punter will be junior Ife Abanikonda. On the recruiting trail, we have 9 gems that we're looking at, with quarterback Julius Castile leading the way at 96 throw power, 82 short and medium accuracy, 86 speed, and 89 acceleration. Then you got cornerback Torrey Dorsey. He's got 92 speed, 93 acceleration, 81 zone coverage. Then an edge player with Harvey Hepburn, who's an athlete. He's got 85 speed and 85 acceleration, and 82 power moves, and 89 strength, and 90 pursuit. So a guy who brings a lot to the table. Then you got Josh Fasano, another athlete, this one at running back. He's got 93 speed and 90 acceleration. And then we have free safety Earl Callaway, 95 speed, 91 acceleration, 80 man coverage, and 72 zone, and a guy that would bring a lot of athleticism to our back end. And then we got left guard Alec Murphy, just a very solid, well-rounded guy, as you can see with his archetype and his statistics there. Then you got left guard Marvin Pryor, another guard here, and he's got another well-rounded archetype, and just love those well-rounded guys. Then you got Austin Chamberlain, a linebacker, 85 speed, 89 acceleration, 82 pursuit are some of the highlights. Then you got a fullback with J.P. Dickens. We love our fullbacks here, especially in that red zone package and everything, so guy we would like to add. Then for other guys that are not gems but still good players, Jay Azur at corner, got that good athleticism and everything. And the thing that really attracted me was that Legion ability and his mentals. Then you got Mike linebacker Chris Terrell, guy with good athleticism and hit power and pretty good pursuit as well. And then you got some other guys that we're looking at that all bring something to the table that we enjoy. On the preseason Heisman Trophy list, we have our quarterback Stanley Turner in the top spot. We're now going to open up our season against the TCU Horned Frogs with their 82 overall and number 21 ranking. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. Antoine Willett getting back there as TCU had a flag on him, so that play will stand. After the sack, it'll be a field goal attempt for TCU to take the early lead, and a little slow-mo action for you here. And their man is going to miss it to the right, so very nice job there by the defense. And David Rawlings right up the middle, and David Rawlings is going to have our first touchdown of the season. Nice job by the O-line on that one, and David Rawlings finding the hole and just hitting it aggressively. And here's another sack, Antoine Willett in there again, along with Trevor Tavares and friends. And David Rawlings again is going to get into the end zone. A couple of broken tackles. Just incredible run by David there on his second touchdown of the day to make it 14-0 Piranhas. And it's going to be David Rawlings again for his third. Oh, no, that's Tony Everett. Oh, no, it is David Rawlings. I was right the first time. David Rawlings has a receiving touchdown on his tally, as he has 3 so far. And it's going to be 21-0 for the Peteytown Piranhas. And here's a sack on that play-action play, and that's going to be Marquez Smith bringing him down for a big loss. And David Rawlings again. This guy is just an absolute beast today to start this season, and he's in for his 4th touchdown of the day. What an incredible game, an incredible start to the season for David. Antoine Willett gets an instant shed on his blocker and gets in there for another sack. The sack will make it a 50-yard field goal attempt here for TCU, and their kicker is going to put it up, and he has missed it wide to the left, so that's 2 misses for their guy, and they remain at 0 points. And David Rawlings again. Are you serious? Oh my goodness. 5 touchdowns in the first half for David Rawlings. That time again on a receiving one. And that was a nice trail route that he ran. And he ran it all the way into the end zone to make it 35-0. And Manuel Monday is going to be the first non-David Rawlings player with a touchdown here on a nice toss from Stanley Turner. And Manuel Monday was able to shake off that defender to make it 42-0. And that's going to be intercepted by the Piranhas. Nick Granson all over that one. They had an opening maybe a little bit, but it was closed quickly by our DBs. And it's going to be Dwayne Woodhead pushing his way through 3 TCU defenders to get into the end zone on that nice crossing route. And it's going to be 49-0 Piranhas. The Peteytown Piranhas with an excellent start to this year as we win 73-3 over TCU. You can see David Rawlings with an absolutely incredible day out there, and really proud of him and the offense for the balance they showed, and for our defense just doing their thing as well, and very happy with the start. The Piranhas open on offense this year with 660 yards, while TCU had 217. On the ground, they had -8, and we had 357 and 6 touchdowns. Just absolutely wonderful by the running game. Then for the passing game, they had 225. We had 303. On third down, they were 4 for 15. We were 5 for 6. And for turnovers, they had 1 and we had 0. Stanley Turner just being efficient out there with 225 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and he was not sacked. Then the big star of the game, David Rawlings, finished with 13 carries, 198 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then, almost not to be outdone, was Marvin Liggins with the backups. He had 14 carries, 133 yards, and 1 touchdown. Then we also had a 5-yard touchdown by Juan Sandy and a touchdown by Adonis Jones. Then in the receiving game, we had David Rawlings leading us here as well. 3 catches, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns, giving him 5 total on the day. Then you had Manuel Monday getting 3 for 52 and a touchdown, and Dwayne Woodhead 4 for 51 and a touchdown. On defense, Billy Davis led us with 8 tackles today, and then for sacks, we had 2.5 from Glenn Pierschbacher and another 2.5 from Antoine Willett, then 1 sack each for Manuel DeLuca and Marquez Smith, and half a sack for Steven Stewart, Ed Henderson, and Trevor Tavares. Then on the interception was Nick Granson that we saw, just very nice coverage there. And then for the kicking game, our guy Trent Hickman, the freshman, hit his first kick of his career. It was a 48-yarder that he hit as time expired with the backups. As you would expect, David Rawlings is the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. And we'll see if he got National Offensive Player of the Week. He did indeed, so nice job by David Rawlings. We now hop right into our game against Clemson. They have the number 16 team in the country with a 95 team overall, and they did lose their first game, but going to Death Valley is never easy, so we got to keep our heads on straight here. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. He's chased down by Marquez Smith on that one. And here's a sack for Clemson as they're going to push us back 6 yards. And back-to-back sacks for Clemson as they lift Stanley Turner that time and bring him down. It was looking like a good drive for the Piranhas, but we have to settle for a field goal attempt by freshman Trent Hickman. And Trent is going to put that one through, so nice job by the guy. And a kick on his first road game of his career in Death Valley. Not very easy, but he was able to put it through to make it 3-0. And another sack for the Piranhas, as it looks like Ed Henderson and John Calloway combined for that one, and the pass rush for both teams really showing out early. And that's going to be caught, and it's going to be Adrian Crumpler down the sideline, and Adrian is going to get into the end zone for the Piranhas. What a strike from Stanley Turner, and it's going to be 10-0 for the Piranhas. Antoine Willett is going to get credit for a sack there. Their quarterback tried to scramble, but Antoine got him down just behind the line of scrimmage. And Manuel Monday has that ball a little behind him, but I think it was placed where it needed to be by Stanley because there was a defender bearing down on him, and Manuel is able to make that catch to make it 17-0. And it's going to be John Calloway getting in there and bringing down their quarterback as our pass rush continues to be great in this one. And David Rawlings is going to catch that one, and that defender was flat-footed as David Rawlings ran right by him, and it's going to be a touchdown for the Piranhas to make it 24-0. And another sack by this defense, Antoine Willett on this one. And back-to-back sacks for the Piranhas. Unbelievable job by this pass rush. Trevor Tavares and John Calloway on that one. And Dwayne Woodhead is just going to get into the end zone there. Got that quick out to him. And Dwayne was able to make the play to make it 31-0. And it's going to be Dwayne Woodhead in the end zone again for the Piranhas on the crosser, and the Piranhas will take a 38-0 lead. And another sack for the Piranhas as Ed Henderson and John Calloway form that tandem to get the sack. And Dwayne Woodhead is going to be in the end zone again for the third time, and that's just an easy one there for our guy as we go up 45-0 right before the fourth quarter. Really could not have asked for a better game from our Piranhas here in Death Valley as we get the 52-0 victory over Clemson. Just absolutely brilliant on all sides of the ball. The pass rush was really working, and Stanley Turner was throwing the ball all over the field, and just great job by the Piranhas. We were able to get 525 yards on offense while we held Clemson to just 66, and doing that to them at home is just incredible. And then for our running game, we had 97 yards and a touchdown. They had -36. And then for passing, we had 428. They had 102. On third down, we were 6 for 8. They were 2 for 10. And for turnovers, there were none in this game. Stanley Turner was just absolutely on fire today as he had 399 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was sacked twice. On the ground, we had 8 carries for 29 yards from David Rawlings, and then our guy Adonis Jones had 3 for 29 and a touchdown. Then for receiving, our guy Dwayne Woodhead, 16 catches, 122 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Manuel Monday, 6 for 95 and a touchdown, and then a nice 76-yard touchdown from Adrian Crumpler. And then we also had David Rawlings getting 2 for 24 and a touchdown. John Calloway was a menace out there with 7 tackles and 4 TFLs to go with 2.5 sacks. And then for our other sack guys, we got 2 from Antoine Willett, 1 for Ed Henderson, Duke Shelley, and Marquez Smith, then half a sack for Trevor Tavares. And then for kicking, Trent Hickman hit his only kick for 44 yards. Dwayne Woodhead was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. In recruiting, guard Alec Murphy is behind Michigan in his top 3, so we have him on a visit this week against Oklahoma State, and we got him paired with Ben Way, the halfback, so see if we can get the boost to help Alec along here. There's a new leader for the Heisman Trophy as David Rawlings is in the top spot, overtaking Stanley Turner, but love to see 2 Piranhas in first and second. We're going to get a rematch from last year's playoff run as we take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys with their number 12 ranking and 89 team overall, and they are 2-0 on the year. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as Ed Henderson gets back there and he forced it out, but they were able to recover it. It's going to be Trent Hickman on a 4th and inches call. It's going to be a 29-yard field goal, and Trent is going to calmly put it through. And there's a fumble on the play, and it's going to be picked up by the Piranhas. It's John Calloway on the recovery. Couldn't really tell who forced it out, but great job by the defense. Stanley Turner hitting Dwayne Woodhead, and Dwayne Woodhead is going to get pushed into the end zone from behind by the defender, and we're going to take a 10-0 lead right after that fumble recovery. And he tried to roll out, but John Calloway was waiting for him, and now there's a scramble to bring down that offensive lineman, and we will for a big loss. And we're going to hit the seam, and that's going to be a touchdown as Keontae Abbott comes to get that one. Stanley Turner throwing a rope to him, and it's going to be 17-0 Piranhas. And that's Manuel Monday on the post, and he has just accelerated away from Oklahoma State's defense. What a nice job by Manuel. Nice job by Stanley as well finding him, and it'll be 24-0. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. John Calloway getting in there as well as Antoine Willett. And back-to-back sacks for the Piranhas. Antoine Willett bringing them down, and that's going to be a safety for this defense as we get it to 26-0. And that's going to be Manuel Monday again on the touchdown. Thought that defender that was standing there might have tried to make a play on it, but he was frozen solid. And we're going to take advantage of that to go up 33-0. And Tony Everett is going to get the angle route, and then he's going to add a little insult to injury with that stiff arm in the end zone. And Tony's got the touchdown to make it 40-0. A sack incoming for the Piranhas as John Callaway and Ed Henderson combine on him again. And another sack for the Piranhas as Antoine Willett comes in there, as well as John Callaway. And he's chased down for the sack, and that's going to be near the beginning of the second half here. And it's Manuel DeLuca getting in there. Trent Hickman will come on for the hash mark field goal, a 24-yarder. And Trent is going to put it through to make it 43-0. And David Rawlings is going to break that tackle, and David Rawlings is in the end zone, showing that physicality that we love out of him. And it's going to be 50-0 Piranhas. An excellent game from the Peteytown Piranhas as we get another shutout, and it's going to be a 57-0 victory for us. Just everything firing on all cylinders in this game. Just over 500 yards in this one as we had 505, and Oklahoma State only had 57, so second straight game where we just smothered an opposing offense. And for their running game, they had negative 73 yards, and we had 117 and a touchdown. For passing, they had 130, and we had 388. On third down, they were 4 for 14, and we were 5 for 9. And for turnovers, they had 1, and we had 0. Excellent game for Stanley Turner as he had 332 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and he was sacked once. Then for Adonis Jones, he had 56 yards and a touchdown. And then on the ground, we had David Rawlings going for 16, 80, and a touchdown. And then on the receiving end, we got Dwayne Woodhead getting 8 for 95 and a touchdown. Manuel Monday, 8 for 93 and 2 touchdowns. Keontae Abbott, 2 for 51 and a touchdown. Andre McNitt, 3 for 41 and a touchdown. And Tony Everett, 2 for 32 and a touchdown. John Callaway with another brilliant performance as he had 6 tackles, 5 for a loss, and 2.5 sacks. And then joining him on the sacks with 2 was Antoine Willett, and another 2 from Manuel DeLuca, 1.5 from Ed Henderson, 1 each from Marquez Smith, Duke Shelley, and Glenn Pierschbacher, then half a sack for Steven Stewart. And then we go over to forced fumbles. We had 1 from John Callaway, another from Ed Henderson, and Billy Davis got 1 as well. And we had our only recovery with John Callaway. And then in the kicking game, Trent Hickman came out here and had 2 for 2 with a long of 29. Our first commit of the season will be left guard Alec Murphy. And then joining Alec will be halfback Ben Way. This week in recruiting, I went through and gave a whole bunch of visits to guys to come to Michigan in Week 5, including Stephen DiGregorio, but he might not even need that Week 5 visit to commit to us, as he's the only one in the top 3 at the moment. Stanley Turner took back the top spot in the Heisman Trophy race as David Rawlings fell down to 3rd. We're going to take our show on the road as we travel to Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini with their 81 overall, and they've also started the year 3-0. And we're trying a deep ball here, and Manuel Monday is going to separate at the last second to grab that one. Beautifully thrown ball from Stanley Turner, and it's going to be 7-0 Piranhas. And over the middle, it's going to be David Rawlings out of the backfield for the receiving touchdown. And the Piranhas will take the 2-score lead. And John Callaway is going to run him down for that 6-yard loss on the sack. And trying to hit one over the middle, but that's going to be intercepted by our guy Javier Paella, and he brings it back to their 7-yard line. And it's going to be our guy Dwayne Woodhead in the end zone right after that interception, and we're going to go up 3 scores at 21-0. And a blitz by the Piranhas is going to work out as Trevor Tavares gets back there along with John Calloway. And it's going to be DeMarco Baskerville in the end zone on the post route there off the RPO. And the Peteytown Piranhas will go up 28-0. Trent Hickman out here to attempt a short field goal, and Trent is going to put this one up, and it is good to make it 31-0 Piranhas. And he's going to step right into a sack for Antoine Willett. He was trying to avoid edge pressure, and instead of avoiding any pressure, he ran right into Antoine. And Stanley Turner is going to fumble, but we're going to recover that in the end zone. Our offensive lineman is there to pick it up, and we're going to go up 38-0. It's a third straight shutout for the Peteytown Piranhas as we get a 52-0 victory over Illinois. Just brilliance again by this defense, just absolutely suffocating, and the offense doing their thing as well. 425 yards for the Piranhas, while Illinois had 109, and then on the ground we had 106 and they had 5. For the passing game, we had 319, they had 104. On third down, we were 3 for 7, they were 3 for 13, and turnovers, we didn't have any, and we forced 2. Stanley Turner with 286 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was not sacked. Then for Adonis Jones, he had 33 yards and a touchdown. For the running game, David Rawlings had 10 for 67. Then through the air, we had Manuel Monday getting 5 for 107 and a touchdown. DeMarco Baskerville getting 6 for 48 and a touchdown. And then Adrian Crumpler, 3 for 45. Then we got David Rawlings on 4 for 34 and a touchdown. Dwayne Woodhead, 4 for 26 and a touchdown. And Keontae Abbott, 2 for 21 and a touchdown. Bruce Speed led us with 9 tackles and 2 TFLs, and then for sacks, we had 1.5 from John Calloway, 1 each for Antoine Willett and Manuel DeLuca, and half a sack for Trevor Tavares. On interceptions, we got 1 today with Javier Paella, and then we scroll on over to our forced fumbles, 1 from Manuel DeLuca, and it was recovered by Duke Shelley. And for our kicking game, Trent Hickman came in and nailed his only field goal attempt, a 25-yarder. Another commit will be joining the Piranhas with 4-star linebacker Steven DeJorio. We have a stuffed visit week now against Michigan, and a bunch of them are in their top 3 phase, like Marvin Pryor here, who's got a tight battle over Florida State. We're currently leading, so we'll see if we can hold him off. Then we got Everett Greason, who's got a nice lead over Pitt. Then Jay Azur in another tight battle here, this one against Penn State. Then you got Earl Calloway with a nice lead over Purdue. Then Mike Cassay, he's on a visit in a couple of weeks, so we'll see if he even needs that visit, but feeling pretty good about him. And then a bunch of other guys on week 5 visits, and everybody's kind of just connecting and building on each other to give us big boosts here, so we'll see what happens. Stanley Turner and David Rawlings both dropped down a little bit in the Heisman Trophy race, and Brad Sampson, the quarterback from our hated rivals Miami, is in the top spot, but you can see why with those big passing yards numbers, and he also put up 10 touchdowns in his last game, so can't really blame the committee for that one. It's now time for a very important matchup on and off the field as we have all of those recruits coming in to watch us here, and it's also a rematch of the National Championship and Big Ten Championship from last year as we take on the Michigan Wolverines. They come in 3-1 with a 97 team overall, and they're ranked number 12 in the country. And that's going to be intercepted by the Piranhas. Alfonso Harris is going to cut it off. And, oh no, that's Bruce Speed. Excuse me. Bruce Speed makes that play, just cutting off that pass and returning it for a pick 6. What a start to the game by this defense. And we're going to bounce off that tackle, and that's going to be Dwayne Woodhead with a physical play to get in the end zone for the Piranhas as we go up 2 scores. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. Antoine Willett getting back there. And Stanley Turner going right up the middle, and Stanley is going to get into the end zone for the Piranhas to make it a 21-0 game. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. The ball is forced out and bounces around, and their offensive lineman is going to just get out of the end zone to avoid the safety. Looking like John Calloway was involved with that. And just absolutely incredible penetration by the D-line there as Marquez Smith is going to force the safety. Bubble screen is going to work out for us as Keontae Abbott is going to get into the end zone for the Piranhas, and we are going to go up 30-0. And sack for the Piranhas as Antoine Willett gets in there again. And Manuel Monday is going to get into the end zone. Nice job on those broken tackles, and then he just accelerated away from the defense, and it's going to be 37-0 Piranhas. A sack here for the Piranhas, and it's that man again, Antoine Willett. Another sack for the Piranhas, just absolutely great pass rush here. And Ed Henderson, what an athletic play out there on the edge as he gets in there for the sack again. And a sack again by the Piranhas. We had a penalty on the punt where we roughed their kicker, so they're out here again, but we just respond with another sack. And David Rawlings is going to join the scoring party as he gets in on that stretch play to the outside. And the Peteytown Piranhas will take the 44-0 lead. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as Trevor Tavares gets back there. Michigan with a chance to end our shutout streak here as they line up for the field goal, and their man is going to put it up and put it through to end that streak, and it's going to be 44-3. Our offense gets it inside their 5, but we have to settle for a field goal by Trent Hickman on the hash mark. And Trent is going to put this one up and put it through to make it 47-3. Well, in our national championship game against them last year, it took us a little while to separate, but this time we separated from them from the word go as the Piranhas just dominated this 47-3 victory over the Michigan Wolverines. Our guys were able to get 463 yards on offense, while Michigan had 103. They had negative 16 yards rushing, while we had 108 and 2 touchdowns. Through the air, they had 119. We had 355. On third down, they were 3 for 13. We were 2 for 4. And turnovers, we got 1 on them, and we did not have any of our own. Stanley Turner just very steady out there as he put up 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and he was not sacked. Then for the running game, David Rawlings had 9 for 63 and a touchdown, and Stanley Turner 3 for 24 and a touchdown. On the receiving end, you had Manuel Monday 7 for 134 and a touchdown, Dwayne Woodhead 9 for 72 and a touchdown, and then down here you got Keontae Abbott with 3 for 20 and a touchdown. Alfonso Harris led us with 9 tackles and 2 for a loss, and then for sacks, we had 2.5 from Antoine Willett, 2 for Manuel DeLuca, 1.5 for Ed Henderson, then 1 each for Trevor Tavares, John Calloway, and Steven Stewart, then half a sack for Duke Shelley and Glenn Pierschbacher. On the interceptions, we had Bruce Speed with that one to open the game for a 28-yard pick 6. And then going down the line, we had a forced fumble from John Calloway. It was not recovered. And we also had a safety in this game from Marquez Smith. And then in the kicking game, Trent Hickman, he came out here and was okay. He was 1 for 2 with a long of 20 from that hash mark, and he missed one while he was out there for the backups. Expecting a whole bunch of recruits here, and it's going to start with left guard Marvin Pryor joining the Peteytown Piranhas, and then joining him will be right tackle Everett Greason, and then following those guys will be cornerback Jay Azur, a 5-star, and then following all of them will be free safety Earl Calloway to add to the DB room, and then following them will be defensive tackle Mike Cassay, and then another commit here with halfback Josh Fasano, and yet another handshake with defensive tackle Tevin Montgomery. On the back of that big play to open up the game, Bruce Speed was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. Harvey Hepburn wasn't quite convinced to join us after he witnessed that win over Michigan for us, but we'll see if we can convince him to come in after this week. Then you got Torrey Dorsey in a tight battle with Michigan after we took him down, and you can see we have the visit before them, so we're hoping that gives us the advantage. Then you got Austin Chamberlain with a nice lead over Colorado State, and Chris Terrell, the linebacker, nice lead over Pitt here, so feeling pretty good. Then you got J.P. Dickens in his top 3 and nobody else going after him, so should be our fullback of the future. Our guy David Rawlings was taken off of the Heisman Trophy list, but we still got Stanley Turner up here. 1-4 Northwestern awaits us now with their 71 team overall. And here's a sack immediately for the Piranhas from John Callaway, coming out in that double mug look, and we got their offensive line a little confused. And Dwayne Woodhead getting free, and Dwayne is going to get into the end zone for the Piranhas, and it's going to open up the scoring at 7-0. And a sack for the Piranhas on a blitz from Bruce Speed. Can't even say the word blitz, but Bruce Speed gets in there. And a sack for the Piranhas as that ball is forced out and it's popping around and John Callaway gets his hands on it. Manuel DeLuca was there on the pressure to force it loose. David Rawlings is just going to go right through the hole that's created by Shakir Ferris and the offensive line, and we're going to go up 2 scores. And a sack by George Otis. Nice blitz there, getting around their blockers to the quarterback. And John Callaway and Antoine Willett combine on a sack, as that's our 5th one of the first quarter. And Stanley Turner is going to dump it off to David Rawlings, who's going to get into the end zone for the 2nd time today, and we go up 21-0. And that's going to be the first interception of the season for our guy Stanley Turner as he tried to float one to Roland Marvin, but their safety was back there to make the play. And a sack here for the Piranhas. John Callaway gets in there along with Trevor Tavares. And DeMarco Baskerville showing off some physicality and strength there as he fights his way into the end zone for the Piranhas, and we go up 28-0. And Dwayne Woodhead just pushes that man out of the way and dives into the end zone for another touchdown for the Piranhas as we make it 35-0. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as our guys Antoine Willett, and I believe it looked like, couldn't tell actually, but Antoine Willett was definitely involved with that one. And that's going to be intercepted by Northwestern. Not really sure what Stanley was trying to do there, trying to hit Roland Marvin, but just overshot it. And we're going to get an interception right back. Nice job by Bruce Speed in coverage, and we're going to have it right outside their red zone. And David Rawlings around the edge, running down the sideline, and David Rawlings is in yet again for the Piranhas, his 3rd of the day, to make it 42-0. And a sack for the Piranhas again, as 3 Piranhas were in on that one, including Marquez Smith and Ed Henderson. And a diving attempt there by Dwayne Woodhead is going to work out on that touchdown catch. Little style points there to make it 49-0. The Piranhas got back to their shutting out ways as we get the 63-0 victory over the Northwestern Wildcats, and Dwayne Woodhead with a nice game as you can see, but just very good overall for the Piranhas. Couple of turnovers for Stanley Turner, but they were his first 2 of the year, so just bound to happen eventually, I guess. But other than that, very good job from the Piranhas. We finished with over 400 more yards of offense than Northwestern, as we had 487 to their 81. On the ground, we had 121 and 4 touchdowns, and they had negative 29. Then for the passing game, we had 366 and they had 110. On third down, we were 4 for 5. They were 2 for 13. And turnovers, we both had 2. Stanley Turner finished with 296 yards, 5 touchdowns, and the 2 picks. And the first one, just one of those things where I just don't like that it's in the game where you have a guy just throwing it up for grabs to the defensive back. It's just kind of like a lob up there, and it's just kind of annoying, but it is what it is. And then the second one, you see the replay, and our guy Roland Marvin was running, but then just a little glitch where he just kind of stopped, and the defensive back just kept going and caught the ball. So kind of unfortunate for Stanley Turner there, but it is what it is. And he also wasn't sacked today. Then for the running game, you had David Rawlings getting 9 for 72 and 2 touchdowns, and Juan Sandy 3 for 26 and 2 touchdowns. On the receiving end, Dwayne Woodhead 9 for 103 and 3 touchdowns, DeMarco Baskerville with 5 for 61 and a touchdown, and Andre McNitt 4 for 49, and David Rawlings 4 for 24 and a touchdown. 6 tackles today by Billy Davis to lead us, and then for sacks, we had 2.5 from John Callaway, 1.5 from Manuel DeLuca, then 1 each for Bruce Speed, Antoine Willett, George Otis, and then half a sack for Ed Henderson, Trevor Tavares, and Marquez Smith. Then on interceptions was Bruce Speed with 1, and then we go over to the fumbles. We had 1 with Manuel DeLuca, and it was recovered by John Callaway. Good news on the recruiting trail as we have right edge Harvey Hepburn joining the Peteytown Piranhas. We got more recruiting visits this week now, with cornerback Torrey Dorsey among those, and he's got a slight lead over Michigan, so hopefully we can get him in here. Then we got Austin Chamberlain with a nice lead over UConn, Chris Terrell with a good lead over Pitt, and then J.P. Dickens, again, nobody challenging, and Julius Castile just outside of his top 3 here. Hopefully that boost from the visit can really help him out here. There's a new leader for the Heisman Trophy as Notre Dame wide receiver Connor Veldman is in the top spot. Stanley Turner went down a spot, and then David Rawlings got back into the fray. We now host the Iowa Hawkeyes with their 78 overall and 3-2 record on the year. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as Antoine Willett gets back there. And Stanley Turner is going to make the right cut off that block in the middle, and Stanley is in the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. And the blitz is going to work out for the Piranhas as we get in there for the sack with Nick Granson. And he's going to find his man in the traffic in the end zone, and Iowa is going to tie up this ball game at 7-7. We get it out to Dwayne Woodhead, and Dwayne Woodhead is in the end zone for the Piranhas as we retake the lead. And a sack by the Piranhas and a forced fumble, but it is going to be picked up by Iowa. John Callaway, the one getting in there for the sack. And Manuel Monday is going to take that pass and get into the end zone. Nice little throw by Stanley Turner there, changing his arm slot to get it to Manuel, and it's going to be 21-7. And a sack for the Piranhas. That's going to be our guy Ed Henderson getting in there. And a sack again, back-to-back plays for the Piranhas as Trevor Tavares gets in there. And we're going to get the safety here on the penetration on that running play for Iowa. Great job by the defense. And into the end zone go the Piranhas. Just a long developing play, and it's going to be Roland Marvin catching it to get in the end zone to make it 30-7. And the blitz is going to work for the Piranhas. It takes a second for us to get there, but we eventually push our way through for the sack. Offense is able to drive the ball downfield before the end of the half to put our guy Trent in the position to kick a field goal. and it is going to be good for the Piranhas, and we're going to go up 33-7. And the flat play is going to work out as Dwayne Woodhead just runs around their defense into the end zone, and the Piranhas will take the 40-7 lead. A sack here by the Piranhas as we're going to get our 7th of the game, and that one was Antoine Willett. Field goal attempt here for Iowa as it's going to be a 30-yarder from the hash mark, and their kicker is going to put that through to make it 40-10. The Peteytown Piranhas get the 54-10 victory over Iowa. Just absolutely wonderful job by our guys just in front of these recruits putting on a show, and we continue to move on with these winning ways. Just over 500 yards for the Piranhas as we had 502 to Iowa's 217. They had 8 yards on the ground while we had 127 and 2 touchdowns. Through the air, they had 209 and we had 375. They were 6 of 13 on third down while we were 3 for 4. And for turnovers, they had 1 and we had 0. Stanley Turner back to his brilliant ways with 340 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and he was not sacked. And then Adonis Jones had 35 yards and a touchdown toss. And then on the ground, we had 5 for 54 and a touchdown for Marvin Liggins. And then David Rawlings, 6 for 29. And Stanley Turner, 2 for 15 and a touchdown. Then on the receiving front, you had Manuel Monday getting 7 for 115 and 1 touchdown. Roland Marvin, 5 for 87 and a touchdown. Dwayne Woodhead, 10 for 66 and 2 touchdowns. And then Andre McNitt, 3 for 29 and a touchdown. Alfonso Harris led us with 7 tackles today and 1 for a loss, and then for sacks, a lot of guys involved here. We ended up with 11 total on the day, and we got 2 from Antoine Willett, 1 each for Nick Granson, Glenn Pierschbacher, Ed Henderson, Trevor Tavares, John Calloway, Duke Shelley, then half a sack for Bruce Speed, Javier Paella, Marquez Smith, Nick Session, C.J. Hamilton, Steven Stewart, and Manuel DeLuca. And then on interceptions, we got 1 from Cornell Moses. And then moving on over, we got a forced fumble with John Calloway, which wasn't recovered. And then for kicking, Trent Hickman, it is only one of the day, as he had a 30-yarder. We got Torrey Dorsey to join us in the recruiting trail, the 5-star corner. And joining him will be Will linebacker Austin Chamberlain. And then another recruit with Mike linebacker Chris Terrell, another 5-star. And joining all of them will be fullback J.P. Dickens. And I thought that was over, but we did end up getting that 5-star quarterback Julius Castile, so wonderful to see that. The top of the Heisman Trophy race keeps switching around as our guy Stanley Turner is back on top, but we did lose David Rawlings. The Piranhas will now travel down to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators with their 88 team overall, and a bit of a struggle this year as they're 3-4. And Tony Everett's going to shrug off a defender and get into the end zone for the rushing touchdown. And that's going to be intercepted by Florida. Stanley Turner floated it out there and trying to make a play, but just not going to work out for us. And there's a fumble on the play as Florida is going to pick it up, and we're going to challenge that. Looking at the replay, though, that ball is definitely out, so that was a mistake challenge by me. And it's going to be a blocked field goal, and that's going to be called a safety for the Piranhas. Just excellent job there by the punt coverage unit. Stanley Turner going deep, and that's going to be intercepted again by Florida, trying to go for Manuel Monday. Stanley Turner trying to make a play there. And that's going to be intercepted by the Piranhas. Nice job by Bruce Speed in the middle of the defense. And that's going to be put on the numbers for Dwayne Woodhead from Stanley Turner. And the Peteytown Piranhas are going to take a 16-0 lead. And Stanley Turner getting chased from behind, and that's going to be a sack by Florida. And another sack for the Piranhas, and this one's going to be a forced fumble, and it's going to be picked up by Antoine Willett, and Antoine is in the end zone as the defense gets some scoring going with a 23-0 lead now for the Piranhas. I believe it was Ed Henderson on the sack to force it loose. And that's going to be another sack for the Piranhas as Ed Henderson gets in there again. And Stanley Turner with a nice cut, and Stanley Turner is in the end zone on the rushing touchdown, and we're going to go up 30-0. Trent Hickman on for a 30-yard field goal attempt on the hash mark, and Trent is going to put this one up, and he's going to put it through, and it's going to be 33-0 Piranhas. And he's going to get around the edge there, and Florida's going to be on the board here to make it 33-7. It took them all the way till 39 seconds left in the game to get on the board, but proud of them for that. The Peteytown Piranhas come into the swamp and get the 33-7 victory over the Gators. Some things to work on offense. We had a bit of a sloppy game there for a minute, but we were able to get things together and really separate from them, and our defense, as usual, just doing their thing. We had 358 yards offensively, while Florida had 209. Then on the ground, we had 103 and 2 touchdowns, and they had 21 and a touchdown. For passing, we had 255, and they had 188. For third down, we were 4 for 8. They were 5 for 14. And turnovers, we had 3, and Florida had 2. And then for our player stats, we had Stanley Turner with 255 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions, and he was sacked once. Then for rushing, David Rawlings had 14 for 73, Tony Everett 6 for 23 and a touchdown, and then Stanley Turner added a touchdown carry. Then on the receiving game, Dwayne Woodhead 10 for 91 and a touchdown. Then Manuel Monday 3 for 54, and Tony Everett 5 for 53. And then on defense, we were led in tackles by Javier Paella. He had 12, and then Alfonso Harris had 11, and Javier also had 4 TFLs. Then for sacks, we had 2 from Ed Henderson. On interceptions, we had 1 from Bruce Speed. And then we go over to our forced fumble. It was Ed Henderson getting it. I thought it was him. Then on the recovery was Antoine Willett. He returned it 36 yards for a touchdown on a wonderful play. And then for field goal kicking, Trent Hickman got out there, and he hit his only attempt for 30 yards. Javier Paella was given the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, and Javier was the National Defensive Player of the Week. The Piranhas are on the road again, this time to Oregon as we take on the Ducks with their 92 team overall and 4-3 record on the year. And that is just a sensational interception by that Oregon cornerback, trying to hit him over the top with DeMarco Baskerville, but it's going to end up in Oregon's hands. And it's going to be an immediate sack from John Callaway as he came in unblocked. The ball's being kicked around, and that is going to be ruled a safety on Oregon. So after that interception, we end up getting points anyway, as it's going to be 2-0 Piranhas. A field goal attempt here for Trent Hickman, and he is going to put this one up, and it is going to be good, and it's going to be 5-0. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as their quarterback tried to look to escape, and that's going to be Antoine Willett. And here's a touchdown toss. David Rawlings gets behind that defender, and Stanley Turner finds him for the touchdown as we go up 12-0. And here's a sack, a fumble. It's Antoine Willett forcing it out. Oh my gosh, I thought Ed had it, but it just went right under him, and Oregon got it. And another sack from Antoine Willett, just a monster out there right now, just getting all these different sacks. And to the outside, it's going to go to Andre McNitt, and Andre is in the end zone for the Piranhas, and we are going to extend the lead to 19-0. And Tony Everett is going to sneak into the end zone on that receiving touchdown from the hand of Stanley Turner to make it 26-0. That was probably the silliest play I've ever seen in this game, or one of them. Just the pop pass high into the air, tipped by the Piranhas into the hands of Bruce Speed, and that is going to result in us being in good field position. And over the middle, it's going to be caught by our guy Andre McNitt again, and he's in the end zone again for us. And the Piranhas will go up 33-0. We're going to test Trent's distance here on the field goal, as it's going to be a 57-yard attempt for him. And Trent is going to put that through, so nice job by the freshman in this situation, as it's going to be 36-0. And Antoine Willett and John Calloway combine for that sack. And David Rawlings breaking tackles, and David Rawlings is in the end zone for the Piranhas as Oregon was offside, so that play is going to stand for us, and we're going to go up 43-0. Oregon was able to put up a field goal to not give us the shutout here, but we'll still take this 50-3 victory in Autzen Stadium. Just a very good job by the Piranhas all around. The Piranhas had 535 yards to Oregon's 152, and on the ground we had 203 and a touchdown, and they had -17. For passing, we had 332, and they had 169. For third down, we were 7 for 9, and they were 2 for 11, and turnovers, we both had 1. Stanley Turner finished the day with 271 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that 1 interception. That was a fantastic play by the defender, and then he was not sacked. Then for Adonis Jones, he had 61 yards and a touchdown. For our running game, David Rawlings went for 17, 130, and a touchdown. And then over here in the receiving, Dwayne Woodhead, 11 for 94. Then DeMarco Baskerville, 6 for 51. Andre McNitt, 6 for 42 and 2 touchdowns. David Rawlings, 2 for 37 and a touchdown. Marvin Liggins, 2 for 24 and a touchdown. And then you got Tony Everett getting a 6-yard touchdown catch. We got 7 tackles apiece from George Odenibo and Javier Paella, and then for sacks, we had 3.5 from Antoine Willett on what was a fantastic game for him, then 1.5 from John Calloway. Then for interceptions, we had 1 from Bruce Speed, and then on our forced fumbles, we had 2 today, 1 by Antoine Willett and John Calloway, but we did not recover either of them. And then for our kicking game, Trent Hickman came in, had 2 for 2 with a long of 57. Got a couple of receivers to highlight here late in the recruiting process, starting with elusive route runner Rakeem Dexter, and he's got a good lead there, and he's got 86 speed, 92 acceleration, and solid route running. And then here we're going to have Ronnie Lawrence, a contested specialist, and pretty much not getting too much challenge here from Ohio State, and he brings to the table 89 speed, 90 acceleration, and pretty good spec catch and short route, but that 78 catching is a little worrisome, but we'll see what we can get out of Ronnie. Connor Veldman has taken back the top spot for the Heisman Trophy as Stanley Turner went down to third after a recent run of some interceptions, so see if we can clean those up for our guy. The Nebraska Cornhuskers come to the Piranha Tank now with their 96 team overall, but they are struggling this year as they're 2-6. And we're going to cut that pass off. Bruce Speed is going to get there for the interception in the end zone and kneel it down to bring it out to the 20. What a great job there. Nebraska really drove well on that one, but we are going to deny him. Nebraska is able to stop us at the 1-yard line, and that's going to put Trent out there for the field goal attempt, and he's going to knock it through to make it 3-0. And David Rawlings is exploding out of that hole, and David Rawlings with a very nice run there, nice downfield block as well, and just showing off a little juke there from David, and we're going to go up to 10-0. And here's a sack for the Piranhas, Antoine Willett getting yet another sack this year. Another field goal attempt for Trent Hickman right before the 2-minute warning, and it's going to be a 32-yarder. And Trent is going to put this one through to make it 13-0. Another sack for Antoine Willett, and this one's going to be for a 7-yard loss. The Piranhas are able to spike the ball with 1 second left and set up a field goal for Trent, as it's going to be a 59-yard attempt. And Trent is going to put it up. It has the distance and it has the accuracy as he puts it through to make it 16-0. And it's going to go out to Andre McNitt, and Andre is in the end zone as Dwayne Woodhead got a little banged up earlier in the game. And we're going to get the touchdown here with our guy Andre to make it 23-0. And here's a sack for Nebraska as they just blew by our blockers. The final second is going to tick off for this game against Nebraska as we get the 23-0 victory over them. Not a lot of offensive fireworks here, but as usual, our defense was outstanding, and David Rawlings had himself a nice game despite some slow times on offense, but we will take this victory over the Cornhuskers. Our offense was able to get 412 yards, while Nebraska had 246. They had 18 yards rushing, while we had 168 and a touchdown. For passing, they had 228 and we had 244. On third down, they were 3 for 12 and we were 9 for 14. And for turnovers, they had 1 and we had 0. Nothing spectacular for Stanley Turner in this one, but he was still effective as he had 244 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions, and he was sacked once. And for our running game, David Rawlings had a nice day, 19 carries, 165 yards, and a touchdown. And then for receiving, we had 7 for 81 by DeMarco Baskerville, 8 for 47 by Dwayne Woodhead, Andre McNitt with 4 for 30 and a touchdown. LaShawn Fausha and Javier Paella each had 8 tackles to lead us, and then we got 2 sacks from Antoine Willett. Then for interceptions, Bruce Speed got the one on the first drive. That really helped us set the tone. And then for our kicking game, Trent Hickman was 3 for 3 with a long of 59. Another recruit added here as we got wide receiver Rakeem Dexter. And another player here with wide receiver Ronnie Lawrence. Not looking good for Jason Cornell as that Week 10 visit didn't get us over Michigan, so just going to keep him on the board until this battle's officially over. For the first time all season, our guy Stanley Turner is not on the Heisman Trophy watch list as Penn State running back Jamario Awasika is the new leader. We now face off against the Golden Gophers of Minnesota with their 3-7 record on the year and 73 team overall. And that is a sensational catch by Roland Marvin in the end zone there, skying for it and 2 defenders crunching him, but he had that concentration and sticky hands to make the catch to make it 7-0 Piranhas. And here's a sack from who else but Antoine Willett, just on a tear this year. And here's a sack from Minnesota as they're able to get Stanley Turner to the ground. After the sack, it's going to be Trent Hickman coming on for the field goal, and Trent is going to put it through to make it 10-0. I don't know why I said 7. 10-0. And Tony Everett is going to have a little scoot of acceleration into the end zone for the Piranhas as we go up 17-0. And John Callaway is going to join the sack parade as we get a sack by him for a 5-yard loss. And another one by John Callaway. Looks like he did a little stunt or something there, but he came up the middle from his edge spot and got another sack. And 3 straight plays, John Callaway is on sacks, and he was joined by another Piranha there, and that's just going to be incredible. Little 3-play stretch there. And a handoff, and Tony Everett is in the end zone again. Our guy David Rawlings a little banged up, so Tony filling in and doing a nice job there to make it 24-0. And showing a highlight here, Ed Henderson getting a sack for the Piranhas. And another sack for the Piranhas. He's going to be brought down this time by Alfonso Harris. And yet another sack for the Piranhas, Antoine Willett, and looks like Ed Henderson again. End of half drive by the Piranhas puts us in field goal range for Trent Hickman, and Trent is going to put this one up, and it is going to be good, and we're going to go up 27-0 at halftime. Launching one deep now, and it's going to be Manuel Monday. He has a little adjustment to make that catch, but he will make it on the sideline, and it's going to be 34-0 Piranhas. Nice job by Manuel Monday, and Stanley Turner putting it out there for him. Being chased down is their quarterback, and Marquez Smith is going to give us our 8th sack of the game. And Dwayne Woodhead is going to reach that ball into the end zone and do a little dance for us, and the Peteytown Piranhas will go up 41-0. We walk into Minnesota and walk out with a 58-7 victory over them, as they were able to get a touchdown on the board against our backups, but just a great job overall by the Piranhas here. The Piranhas had 530 yards while Minnesota had 55, and that was due in large part to the sacks we got, which forced them into negative 58 rushing yards and a touchdown, and we had 106 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Through the air, we had 424, and they had 113. On third down, we were 8 for 10, and they were 3 for 12. And for turnovers, there were none in this game. Stanley Turner with 305 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was sacked once. And then Adonis Jones had 119 yards and a touchdown. For rushing, we had Marvin Liggins leading us with 7 for 56, and Tony Everett had 10 for 18 and a touchdown, then a 4-yard touchdown by Juan Sandy. On the receiving end of things, Andre McNitt had 2 for 110 and a touchdown, Dwayne Woodhead 11 for 90 and a touchdown, Manuel Monday 3 for 77 and a touchdown, Tony Everett 6 for 47 and a touchdown, and then finally Roland Marvin 4 for 42 and a touchdown. Ed Henderson with 7 tackles today, and then 5 for a loss, and then he had 2 sacks, but he was not our sack leader. That was John Callaway with 2.5. Then we got 2 other sacks from Manuel DeLuca, 1.5 from Antoine Willett, 1 each for Alfonso Harris, George Odenigbo, Cornell Moses, and Marquez Smith, then half a sack for Steven Stewart and Glenn Pierschbacher. And then scrolling over, we had a forced fumble with Ed Henderson. And then on the field goal kicking, Trent Hickman went 3 for 3 with a long of 39. Jason Cornell decided to go to Michigan, so we're going to have to take him off of the board. In our regular season finale, we're trying to go 16 straight seasons without losing a regular season game, so big time stuff for us here as we take on the Washington Huskies with their 87 team overall and 6-5 record. And a nice soft lob out there to Dwayne Woodhead, and Dwayne's able to run under it and run into the end zone to open up the scoring in this game. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as Antoine Willett gets back there. And David Rawlings is going to sprint towards the end zone there. Nice job on the blocking and just perfect play call against what Washington was doing defensively as we get a 14-0 lead. And we're going to jump in front of that for the interception, and we are going to be right in their red zone. What a great read there. That's going to be Billy Davis. And right up the middle, Stanley Turner is going to fight into the end zone. 2 Washington defenders got there as he reached the end zone line, but Stanley is going to get in to make it 21-0. And here's a sack, and guess who? It's going to be Antoine Willett. And Dwayne Woodhead open in the end zone for the Piranhas as we go up by 4 scores. And that's going to be intercepted for the Piranhas. We were right in front of that receiver on what looked like a curl route, and it's going to be our guy, George Otis. And Stanley Turner got stood up at the line, but then got pushed into the end zone, so we'll take that to take a 35-0 lead. And David Rawlings getting around the blocks, and David Rawlings is going to stiff arm that man to the ground in the end zone as we get another touchdown to make it 42-0. And that's a pick by the Piranhas on defense. It's going to be our guy Bruce Speed getting that one and bringing it all the way back for a pick six for the Piranhas to make it 49-0. And David Rawlings is going to use that physicality to break the tackle, and then he gets around the defense into the end zone to make it 56-0 Piranhas. The Peteytown Piranhas complete 16 regular seasons in a row without a loss, and just in dominant fashion here as we win 59-3, and that number of games won in a row in the regular season stands at 192. We got 511 yards to Washington's 162. Then on the ground, they had -6, and we had 201 and 5 touchdowns. Then through the air, they had 168. We had 310. On third down, they were 4 for 12, and we were 6 for 8. And for turnovers, they had 3, and we had 0. Stanley Turner with a nice day with 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was not sacked. And then for the running game, David Rawlings with 14 carries, 122 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Marvin Liggins, 5 for 44, and Stanley Turner, 4 for 23 and 2 touchdowns. Then on the receiving front, DeMarco Baskerville led us, 6 catches, 100 yards for him. Dwayne Woodhead, 10 for 79 and 2 touchdowns. And David Rawlings, 5 for 55. Nick Session with 6 tackles today to lead us, and then for sacks we had Antoine Willett getting 2, then 1 each for C.J. Hamilton and Glenn Pierschbacher. Then for interceptions we got Bruce Speed on a 30-yard pick 6, then 1 for George Otis and Billy Davis, and then on kicking Trent Hickman was 1 for 1 with a long of 48. David Rawlings was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. In the Big Ten Championship game, it'll be a matchup between us and Ohio State, and they jumped us to number 1 as we're number 3 in the country. We've added one last player to the team as we have strong safety Jeff Zanzenbacher. Taking a look real quick at what Jeff Zanzenbacher brings to the table, he's got 92 speed and 86 acceleration, and he also has that 83 zone coverage. 2 undefeated teams go head-to-head for the Big Ten Championship as we take on the Ohio State Buckeyes with their 99 team overall, and the Piranhas are trying to win their 15th straight Big Ten Championship. And David Rawlings is going to get into the end zone. Thought they might have had a chance to get the angle on him to bring him down, but David did not allow that to happen as we open up the scoring in the Big Ten Championship. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as our guys Antoine Willett and Manuel DeLuca get in there. And here's a sack for Ohio State as their guys able to bring down Stanley Turner. And David Rawlings is going to dive into the end zone there. Looked like a little bit of a glitchy play there, but it works out in our favor for David and the Piranhas as it's going to be 14-0. And that is going to be a trick play turned into an interception for the Piranhas as Jordan Awama skies for that one and brings it back to their 21. Ohio State trying to hit us with a surprise play there, but the Piranhas were well prepared. And Manuel Monday is going to take that immediate throw from Stanley Turner and get into the end zone. Nice awareness by Stanley, and Manuel Monday having the hands and speed to get into the end zone to make it 21-0 after that interception from the defense. And another interception, Bruce Speed just stepping right in front of it. He was way far back there, but then stepped right up when he saw what was happening, and that awareness is going to cost Ohio State, and then we're going to be set up right inside their red zone. And it's going to be Dwayne Woodhead turning the corner into the end zone, and again we have one play after an interception that turns into a touchdown to make it 28-0 Piranhas. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as John Callaway gets in there. After a nice drive by Ohio State, that sack is going to force a field goal attempt for their kicker, and he is going to put it up, and it is good to make it 28-3. Trent Hickman with a late first half field goal attempt here, and he is going to put that one through to make it 31-3. And a beautiful toss from Stanley Turner into the hands of Adrian Crumpler, who got behind the defense there on the verts, and it's going to be 38-3 Piranhas. And a sack by the Piranhas again, this one for a 7-yard loss by Antoine Willett. And Dwayne Woodhead left alone, and Dwayne is in the end zone again here in the Big Ten Championship as the Peteytown Piranhas go up 45-3. And a sack here for John Callaway on a 7-yard loss. Our Piranhas put forth a dominant effort here in the Big Ten Championship game, winning 45-3 over Ohio State and showing the committee that we're really the #1 team in the country. Just a great overall effort from the guys, the defense doing their thing like they've done all season, the offense just very efficient and very just successful, especially after turnovers from the defense, as we celebrate with the Big Ten Championship trophy for the 15th time in a row. Our offense had 533 yards to Ohio State's 212. They had 84 yards rushing, and we had 187 and 2 touchdowns. Through the air, they had 128, and we had 346. Then for third down, they were 3 for 11, and we were 6 for 9. Nice. And for turnovers, they had 2. We had 0. Stanley Turner was really on top of his game today as he had 342 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and he was sacked once. For the running game, David Rawlings had 11 for 115 and 2 touchdowns. Marvin Liggins, 9 for 69, nice. Then for receiving, we had Dwayne Woodhead, 13 for 92 and 2 touchdowns. And then you had Adrian Crumpler getting that 85-yard touchdown catch. Manuel Monday, 5 for 53 and a touchdown. And Roland Marvin, 4 for 46. Billy Davis led us on defense with 7 tackles, and then for sacks, we had 2 from John Callaway and also Manuel DeLuca, 1.5 from Antoine Willett, and half a sack for Jameel Maddox. On the interceptions were Bruce Speed and Jordan Awama, and both of those setting up touchdowns that happened on the very next plays. And then for our kicking game, Trent Hickman hit his only one of the day for a 43-yarder. John Callaway was the defensive player of the game in the Big Ten Championship. Dwayne Woodhead was the offensive player of the game in the Big Ten Championship. It's another Heisman Trophy for Baylor as quarterback Manny Arcuri is going to win it. Stanley Turner is a Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award winner. Antoine Willett is the Chuck Bednarik Award winner after putting up a very good season. John Callaway is the Defensive End of the Year Award winner. Antoine Willett also won the Bronco Nagurski Trophy. Dwayne Woodhead is the latest John Mackey Award winner for the Peteytown Piranhas. Antoine Willett was also recognized with the Lombardi Award. Below Manny Arcuri for the Heisman Trophy, we had these finalists with Jamario Awasika, our own guy Stanley Turner, then Connor Veldman from Notre Dame, and from Oklahoma, Bryce Vogel. Let's look at some dev traits, shall we, as Julius Castile, the quarterback, is an elite dev guy, so love to see that for us. Then quarterback Torrey Dorsey is going to be elite as well, so great start here. Harvey Hepburn is also elite, so that's our top 3 guys on the board. Then you got Jay Azur, who's a star dev. Then Chris Terrell is impact. Then guard Alec Murphy is also star. And then the other guard, Marvin Pryor, is a star as well. Then free safety Earl Callaway is elite. Then you got Josh Fasano, star. Then Austin Chamberlain, the linebacker, is also star. Then halfback Ben Way is normal dev, so the first normal guy. Then you got Steven DeJorio in impact dev. Then Everett Greason is impact. Defensive tackle Mike Kassay is normal. Defensive tackle Tevin Montgomery is also normal. Wide receiver Rakeem Dexter is normal, so a little run of normals. Then you got Ronnie Lawrence, who's a normal as well. Then J.P. Dickens, the fullback, is elite, so that's the first elite fullback we've had. So that's pretty cool. Then you got strong safety Jeff Zonsenbacher, who was impact. In the college football playoff, it's going to be number 5 NC State versus number 12 North Texas. The number 8 versus number 9 will be USC versus Michigan State. Oklahoma versus Baylor in the 6-11 matchup. Then number 7 versus number 10 is Michigan versus Miami. Then we're the number 1 seed, number 2 Penn State, number 3 Ohio State, and number 4 Notre Dame. So you got the top 3 seeds being Big Ten teams, and our opponent in the next round will be a Big Ten team, as it's between USC and Michigan State. In the quarterfinal game in the Rose Bowl, it's going to be very familiar foe, USC. On our side of the bracket for the first round, not very competitive matchups as NC State and USC prevailed. Then you got Oklahoma getting a 2-score win over the Baylor Bears and the Heisman Trophy winner. And then Miami beat Michigan in a close one. And then you got Notre Dame and NC State going in the quarterfinal, as well as us and USC, of course, Ohio State and Oklahoma, and Penn State, Miami. USC has gone 11-2 this year, and that was good enough to give them the number 8 seed in the college football playoff. They have a 94 team overall, and we're hoping that we can continue our winning ways against them. And it's floated softly out there into the hands of Dwayne Woodhead, and the John Mackey Award winner has the touchdown to make it 7-0 Piranhas. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. It's going to be Marquez Smith getting back there. And Manuel Monday is going to get into the end zone there. He had to fight through some guys, but he did to get in there to make it 14-0. And Jordan Owama is going to time that one up perfectly and get the interception downfield, and we're going to take over. And here's a touchdown for the Piranhas. It's going to be Roland Marvin getting out there, and it's going to be 21-0 Piranhas. And that is going to be a lot of traffic in front of Dwayne Woodhead, but he still snags that one out of the air and gets into the end zone for the Piranhas to make it 28-0. And there's a fumble on the play, and USC is going to pick it up, and now they're running the other way. Stanley Turner trying to run him down, and he does, but not before they get down to the 70-yard line. Just huge hit on our guy, Dwayne Woodhead, to force that one loose, and USC is in prime scoring position. And here's a sack for the Piranhas as our guys Ed Henderson and John Callaway combine on them. After being put in a tough spot, our defense is able to stand and keep them out of the end zone, and USC is going to try a field goal, and they are going to put it through to make it 28-3. And here's a sack for the Piranhas, and that's going to be our guy Trevor Tavares in there. And that's going to be intercepted by USC, trying to hit David Rawlings on the trail route, but it's popped out and falls into their hands. And another sack for the Piranhas as Antoine Willett, the award winner, gets in there. And John Callaway is going to run him down, as well as Marquez Smith. And coming back to that ball is going to be Dwayne Woodhead, and he was over the line in the end zone, so that'll be a touchdown for the Piranhas, a 35-3 lead. And here's a sack by our guy Ed Henderson, who sticks him down. The Peteytown Piranhas get the 45-3 victory over USC here. Just absolutely commanding performance from the Piranhas, and USC really had no shot. We had a couple of turnovers, but didn't come back to bite us, so love to see our resiliency in that respect. Next session with 5 tackles to lead us, and then for sacks, we had 1.5 from Marquez Smith and Ed Henderson, and 1 sack for John Callaway, Antoine Willett, Trevor Tavares, and Duke Shelley. Then for interceptions, we got 1 from George Odenigbo with the backups, and another with Jordan Owamo on a nice play downfield. And then for our kicking game, Trent Hickman hit his only field goal. It was a 51-yarder. Dwayne Woodhead was considered to have the best offensive game in the quarterfinal round of the playoff. In the semifinal matchup, we will be taking on number 4 Notre Dame. To get to our matchup, Notre Dame got a close 38-33 victory over NC State, and then on the other side, Oklahoma blew out Ohio State, and then Penn State beat Miami by 2 scores, so that's going to set up us and Notre Dame, and Penn State, Oklahoma. The 12-1 Notre Dame Fighting Irish come into this game with a number 4 seed and a 90 team overall, and we're going to do battle at the Peach Bowl. And Stanley Turner is going to jump into the end zone, showing a little athleticism on our guy, and it's going to open up the scoring in this semifinal game 7-0. And a blitz here is going to work out for us as we're going to get that sack and force fumble. What a play. I believe that was Javier Paella forcing it loose. And it's going to be Dwayne Woodhead separating and getting into the end zone after that sack and force fumble. And it's going to be 14-0 Piranhas. And the bubble screen is going to work out for us as Keontae Abbott is in the end zone to make it a 3-score game. Antoine Willett closing down on him, and Antoine is going to get in for the sack. And a strike from Stanley Turner into the hands of Dwayne Woodhead with another touchdown as we're going to go up 28-0. And that is going to be just an absolutely fantastic defensive play by Notre Dame, cutting off that route of ours, just jumping it to perfection, and they're at the 40. And here's a sack for the Piranhas. It's a forced fumble, but we don't pick it up as John Callaway is the one who stripped it out. And another interception for Notre Dame, trying to hit a deep corner route. They're running down, and they are going to get into the end zone on a pick 6. I wish Stanley Turner had looked elsewhere for that one, as though there were 2 defenders. We did have a little step on them, but just wasn't able to complete it there, and that's going to result in 7 for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And Roland Marvin is going to separate here as Roland Marvin has a huge touchdown for the Peteytown Piranhas. It looked like it might have been the same play that we ran on the last drive that they got the pick 6 on. And we throw that corner out again, and this time Roland's able to get free and make a long touchdown out of it. And John Callaway is going to get the sack here, a 10-yard loss on the play. And Stanley Turner going right up the middle, and he gets hit, but not before he gets into the end zone for the Piranhas, as we're going to go up a nice 42-7. And a sack here. It's going to be Marquez Smith getting back there. The Peteytown Piranhas punched their ticket to yet another national championship game with a 49-10 victory over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Just great job all around again for the Piranhas. Couple of turnovers from Stanley Turner, but it is what it is as we are going to keep on moving on. In the semifinal, the Peteytown Piranhas got 498 yards to Notre Dame's 182, and on the ground they had 3 and we had 145 and 2 touchdowns. Through the air they had 179 and we had 353. On third down they were 5 for 16 and we were 5 for 8, and for turnovers they had 1 and we had 2. Stanley Turner finished with 301 yards, 4 touchdowns, and the 2 interceptions on that first one. The receivers kind of crossed paths and bumped each other, so I think that threw off the timing a little bit, but still a great play by the defender. And the second one was just not the best decision and not the best throw in that situation, so it is what it is. But moving on, we got our guy David Rawlings with 15 carries and 95 yards. Stanley Turner with 3 for 25 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then for receiving, Dwayne Woodhead had 8 for 103 and 2 touchdowns. Then Roland Marvin had 2 for 92 and a touchdown. DeMarco Baskerville had 6 for 64, and Andre McNitt had 4 for 39 and a touchdown. Then it was 2 for 12 and a touchdown by Keontae Abbott. Bruce Speed led us today with 9 tackles and 2 for a loss, and then for sacks we had 2 from John Callaway, then 1 each for Javier Paella, Antoine Willett, Marquez Smith, and Duke Shelley. Then we had half a sack each from Manuel DeLuca and Steven Stewart. And then we go over here to the forced fumbles, and we had 2 today, one by John Callaway and another by Javier Paella, and we were able to recover one of them with Ed Henderson. Between the 2 games in the semifinal round, Dwayne Woodhead had the best offensive performance. In the national championship, we're going to face off against number 6 seed Oklahoma. It was definitely a close one for Oklahoma as they only beat Penn State by 3, but they got that victory to face us here in Miami, Florida for the national championship. Oklahoma comes into this game with a 90 team overall and a 15-1 record on the year, and for the Peteytown Piranhas, we're trying to win our 9th national championship in a row and 17th overall to put us in sole possession of 2nd place behind Yale with 18, and we're trying to see if we can also have 9 straight undefeated seasons, which would give us 144 straight games won. And David Rawlings is going to separate here as he's got 4 Sooners trying to chase him down, but they cannot catch him as David is going to get into the end zone to make it 7-0. After our touchdown, Oklahoma is going to go for a 30-yard field goal from the left hash mark for their kicker. And he is going to put it up, and they are on the board to make it 7-3. We respond to their field goal with an attempt of our own from Trent Hickman, and Trent is going to put that through to make it 10-3. And that's going to be intercepted. It's Javier Paella. Their man was just trying to dump it off to a short route, but Javier was in the right place at the right time to put us at their 5. And it's going to be Manuel Monday going underneath on that slant to get the touchdown for the Piranhas after the interception. And we're going to be up 17-3. And it's going to be a blitz by the Piranhas that gets home with Bruce Speed getting the sack. And we're going to get another interception here. It's going to be Bruce Speed, so he gets the sack earlier on this drive and then closes it with that interception as he just had the great zone coverage there to intercept that one. And getting to the outside, it's going to be our guy Tony Everett in the end zone. Nice blocking on the edge there on that little sweep play. And it's going to be 24-3 Piranhas. And on 4th and goal, Oklahoma's decided to go for it, and they used the running play to get in the end zone to make it 24-10. With just under 10 seconds left in the half, we're going to send out Trent Hickman for a field goal attempt, and Trent is going to split the uprights, and the Peteytown Piranhas will extend their lead to 27-10. And Manuel Monday is going to hang on to that one and get into the end zone again for the Peteytown Piranhas as he disappears there. And it's going to be 34-10. And he just absolutely fired that one into the hands of Andre McNitt. What a nice pass from Stanley Turner to make it 41-10. And there's a touchdown run for Oklahoma as they're going to make it 41-17. And Manuel Monday is going to get in there again for the Piranhas. Just a great day from him. And the Piranhas are going to go up 48-17. And a sack for the Piranhas as Antoine Willett and Ed Henderson get in there. And Tony Everett is going to dive into the end zone for the Piranhas to make the final score look very large now. It's going to be 55-17. The Peteytown Piranhas have won yet another national championship here with the final score of 55-17 over the Oklahoma Sooners. And now the Piranhas have the second most national championships of all time with 17. And this is also our 9th straight national championship one, as we have just overtaken all of the college football world. And then you got John Callaway handing over that trophy to Petey Previtt for the 17th time as he lifts it aloft, and just absolutely incredible stuff from our Piranhas. The boys just absolutely remarkable consistency. And the leader here, Stanley Turner, putting up numbers and really leaving us with a wonderful feeling, and everybody congratulating him and themselves on just a job well done in this game and all season long as we go undefeated yet again. Manual Monday, a big day here, as the boys and Stanley Turner celebrate with the trophy. In the national championship, the Piranhas had 525 yards to Oklahoma's 303. They had 110 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, while we had 155 and 3 touchdowns. For the passing game, they had 193 and we had 370. For a third down, they were 4 for 12 and we were 9 for 10. And for turnovers, they had 2 and we had 0. Our guy Stanley Turner ends his career with us with a wonderful game, 370 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was not sacked. And then for our rushing game, David Rawlings leaves us with 18 carries, 128 yards, and a touchdown. And you also got to shout out Tony Everett for getting 4 for 6 and 2 touchdowns. And then for the receiving game, transfer Manuel Monday made a big impact in this one. 10 catches, 117 yards, and 3 touchdowns. DeMarco Baskerville with 7 for 71. Dwayne Woodhead, 6 for 54. Then you got Andre McNitt, 3 for 42 and a touchdown. Bruce Speed led us with 13 tackles, and he also had 3 for a loss. And then you got 11 tackles from Javier Paella and 10 from LaShawn Fausha. And then for sacks, we had 1 from Bruce Speed, then half a sack for Ed Henderson and Antoine Willett. Then for interceptions, we had 1 from Bruce Speed and another from Javier Paella. And then on the kicking game, Trent Hickman was 2 for 2 with a long of 48. Javier Paella was the defensive player of the game in the national championship. Manuel Monday was the offensive player of the game. This season, Stanley Turner had 4,948 yards, 60 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, really cutting back on those interceptions, which you love to see, and what was a fantastic season for him. Then for our running game, David Rawlings finished with 194 carries, 1,447 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Then Stanley Turner had 50 for 222 and 7 touchdowns. And then for receiving, we had Dwayne Woodhead leading the way, 149 catches, 1,321 yards, and 23 touchdowns. Manuel Monday below him with 77 catches, 1,074 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Then you got DeMarco Baskerville, 76 catches, 765 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then you also want to shout out Andre McNitt as the backup guy. He had 40 catches, 441 yards, and 9 touchdowns, which is really nice production out of a backup tight end. And then for David Rawlings, he had 37 catches, 378 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Nobody with over 100 tackles this year, as Javier Paella led us with 93. And then for TFLs, we got 38 from Antoine Willett, 37 from John Callaway, 25 from Ed Henderson, 22 by Manuel DeLuca, and 21 for Javier Paella. On sacks, we had 2 20-sack guys with Antoine Willett at 26 and John Callaway with 20. Then you had 12.5 from Manuel DeLuca and 12 from Ed Henderson. On interceptions, we were led by Bruce Speed with 8. And then we go down here. For defensive touchdowns, we got 2 from Bruce Speed and 1 from Antoine Willett and Duke Shelley. Then for pass deflections, we had 13 each from Jordan Awama and Javier Paella. And then you had forced fumbles, 5 from John Callaway, 3 from Ed Henderson, and 2 from Manuel DeLuca. And then you got fumble recoveries, 2 by John Callaway, 1 for Ed Henderson, Antoine Willett, and Duke Shelley. And then we had any blocks this year. We got 1 from George Otis. And you got safeties. We got 3 this year. Marquez Smith, Antoine Willett, and Javier Paella getting those. A really great freshman season for Trent Hickman, as he only missed 1 field goal all year, going 21 for 22 with 95% and a long of 59. Stanley Turner finished his career with us with 11,482 yards, 133 touchdowns, and 24 interceptions. Then on the running game, you had David Rawlings having 302 carries, 2,073 yards, and 18 touchdowns. Then Stanley Turner had 110 for 420 and 17 touchdowns. Then for any receivers that are leaving us, you got Manuel Monday, a transfer, and then Tony Everett, who was a third down back for us this year, had 77 catches, 779 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The notable defensive leaders that are leaving us here are mostly just our defensive line, who are just tremendous throughout their careers here. You got John Callaway getting 90 career TFLs and 47 sacks. Then you got Antoine Willett at 62 TFLs and 39 sacks. Ed Henderson with 55 TFLs and 25.5 sacks. We had 3 guys who were threatening to maybe transfer, but we were able to get all 3 back. We needed to use second persuasions on all of them, but it ended up working out for us as quarterback Christian Shelley, linebacker Clifton Shudock, and wide receiver Pat Sates are all returning. Another year, another senior class that never lost a game while they were with the Peteytown Piranhas, and we start with Reed Cantwell, who was a tackle who served as our center for a little while, but then got moved out to tackle again, just a guy who was willing to do anything for the team, and we love him for that. And you got John Callaway, who was a transfer and made a big impact for us on the defensive line and was a tremendous get for us. And you got Bruce Speed, who lived up to his name with that speed and led us in interceptions this year, just a guy who was tremendous. And you got LaShawn Fausha. Didn't have a lot of stats from the free safety spot, but he made reliable tackles and was a good guy to have in the back end. And you got, of course, Stanley Turner, our quarterback, Heisman Trophy candidate, and just a tremendous quarterback for us. And he led us to 2 national championships as the starter, so a guy we'll really miss. And you got Damian Cummings, who was just an all-around fantastic guard. Then Jordan Owama, who was a great cornerback for us. And not a lot of stats this year, but we didn't really have teams throwing a lot because we were sacking everybody all the time. So that had something to do with it. And you got Ed Henderson, who was another tremendous get for us on the defensive line and really served a while for us. He just made here and there. He was on the field and really took hold when he got that starting position and just really was tremendous for us. Then you got Alfonso Harris, who's another great safety, and Nick Granson, who was a cornerback for us and served as our slot guy and was really good there. Then you got Steve McDaniels, who didn't play a lot, but he was at 86 overall because I was trying to keep some things on the table for playing time for guys and different things, so he didn't get a lot of playing time, but we're able to boost him to a 93, so maybe he can get us some pro potential there. And you got David Rawlings, who was a guy who waited his time and really exploded as a senior and was a tremendous halfback for us. And you got Manuel Monday, a transfer who we really like to have. And then we got Tony Everett, a good third down back situation guy. And you got, and of course we got to always just really sing the praises of Antoine Willett, a guy who wasn't very highly rated with that 80 overall and 82 overall, but just an award winner and a guy who went out there. Didn't matter who was in front of him, he beat him and got to the quarterback, and just love a guy like that who doesn't have all the overall things and whatever you want to say, but just a guy who was out there playing football for us. In the NFL draft, we had 14 guys go, and over half of those were first-rounders. That included Stanley Turner, Damian Cummings, Reed Cantwell, John Callaway, Ed Henderson, Bruce Speed, and LaShawn Fausha, as well as Jordan Owama. Then in round 2 was Alfonso Harris and Steve McDaniels. Round 3 was Manuel Monday and Nick Granson. Round 4, David Rawlings, and round 5, Carl Smith. In the transfer portal, we really only have one area of need. We got to get some cornerbacks to fill out the depth chart, so we're looking at Warren Dunham here with some okay athleticism, good coverage skills, and change of direction at 99. He's also got that platinum house call. Then you got DeMar Bickley, who's got very good athleticism at 94 speed and 95 acceleration, 97 change of direction. He's got that 84 zone coverage and bronze house call. Then a guy very exciting here, Antonio Funchess. He's got 99 speed and acceleration and 98 change of direction and agility, and he's got pretty okay coverage too at 80 for man and zone, and he's got bronze house call. We have signed cornerback Warren Dunham to the team. In week 3, DeMar Bickley decided to lock us out, but Antonio Funchess has us just in first place in front of Penn State, and we used a double soft sell, so now we can switch over to the hard sell. And we have indeed signed cornerback Antonio Funchess. On National Signing Day, we find out that Warren Dunham has impact development and Antonio Funchess has star development, so pretty good there for our transfers. Overall, in this recruiting class, we ended up with 5 elite dev players and 6-star dev players, so I feel like that's pretty good. And then for the top classes, we had the third best class, and that included 21 recruits and 5 5-stars, 14 4-stars, and 2 3-stars. One notable position change I'd like to point out was Duke Shelley moving over from edge to defensive tackle for us. Tight end Dwayne Woodhead has upgraded his dev trait to elite, so love to see that. Quarterback Adonis Jones is going to take over for Stanley Turner, and he's a 90 overall, 91 with tactician boost. Might be that I boosted him up a little bit too much, that he might go pro next year, but we'll see what happens. And I did that because his accuracy was at 79 deep throw and wanted to get it over 80, but might have been a little too much, but it is what it is. And then for his IQ, he's at 81 awareness, and his quickness has met its cap at 94 speed and acceleration. We got a couple of guys at halfback who can make an impact next year, and they both bring something different to the table with Marvin Liggins and Juan Sandy, and they're both 87 overall and 88 with tactician boosts. And for Marvin, his quickness is capped at 88 speed and 92 acceleration, but Dowell Loggins with that architect ability to break caps, he can come back for his senior year and maybe we get him to 90 speed. He's also got his elusiveness very good with 99 agility and change of direction, 94 juke move, and 90 spin move. And for his abilities, he's got Platinum 360, Gold Safety Valve, and Platinum Sidestep. And then we're going to go over to Juan Sandy to see what he brings to the table. For Juan, that contact seeker that I mentioned, his quickness is at 90 speed and acceleration. His elusiveness is okay, and his power is in a really nice spot. And for his abilities, he's got Silver Downhill, Platinum Workhorse, and Platinum Balanced. Wide receiver Roland Marvin is a 90 overall, 91 with tactician boosts, and for him, his quickness is at 98 speed and 93 acceleration. His hands met its cap at 94 catching and 95 catch in traffic, as well as 99 spec catch. For route running, everything here is above a 90. Then for his abilities, he's got Platinum Cutter, Bronze Layout and Recoup, Gold Double Dip, and Platinum Sure Hands. Last offseason, I highlighted wide receiver DeMarco Baskerville for taking a big leap to 87 overall and 88 with tactician boost. I mainly did that because his deal breaker is playing time, so I wanted to make sure he stuck around, but now we're in a place where we can't really progress him anymore until his senior year, but we were able to get his abilities up a little more. He's got Platinum Cutter, Layout and Recoup, and Gold Double Dip and Silver Sure Hands. John Mackey Award winner Dwayne Woodhead is a 94 overall, 97 with the tactician boost, and his route running has been maxed out as well as his hands, and his blocking got up to a very respectful place. Then his IQ went up and he already had his quickness maxed out. Then for his abilities, he's got Gold Sure Hands and Gold Outside Shield. Offensive tackle Marco Sheed is a 99 overall player, and he's pretty much a generational prospect. He's maxed out in pass blocking, run blocking, power, and IQ, and he's got his footwork up very nicely as well as his quickness. And for his abilities, he's got platinum in everything with pocket shield, outside shield, strong grip, option shield, and inside shield. Guard Emmanuel Matungalu is now a 98 overall, 99 with tactician boosts, and for him, we got his run blocking to its cap, where his run block is at 88 and his run block finesse is 95. For pass blocking, this has been maxed out, where he's got 99 pass block and 99 pass block finesse. And for his power, it's maxed out here, where he's got 99s in strength, impact blocking, and toughness. Then for his IQ, he's at 87 awareness and 99 lead block. And for his abilities, he's got platinum everything with screen enforcer, quick step, option shield, quick drop, and outside shield. Offensive tackle Romeo Vigil is a 95 overall, 96 with tactician boosts, and for him, his pass blocking and run blocking have reached its max, and he's got his power to 91 strength, his IQ up to 85 awareness, and then for his abilities, he's got platinum pocket shield and outside shield, as well as platinum option shield and inside shield. Coming off the edge on defense will be Trevor Tavares at 93 overall and 94 with tactician boosts, and his power moves and finesse moves are up to 95. His quickness is up to 91 speed and 93 acceleration. His run stopping got a nice boost to 81 block shed, 94 tackle, and 90 pursuit. Then his IQ went up to 81 awareness. For his abilities, he's got Gold Quick Jump, Platinum Duress, Gold Takedown, Platinum Pocket Disruptor, and Gold Recoup. Mike linebacker Javier Paella is a 97 overall, 98 with tactician boosts, and for him, he did some work on his IQ. That got up to 82 awareness and 96 play rec. He had maxed out his quickness already at 96 speed and 99 acceleration. Then for his run stopping, he took a big leap here, 99 tackle and 95 pursuit. Then his pass coverage went up to 88 zone and 90 man. Then for his abilities, he's got platinum wrap up. Outside linebacker George Otis is a 91 overall, 93 with the boost, and for him his quickness is his best asset at 91 speed and 99 acceleration. His pass coverage is at 85 zone, run stopping is pretty solid, and his IQ is at 79 awareness and 83 play rec. And for his abilities, he's got bronze wrap up and silver blow up. We had a lot of fun with progressing cornerback Daryl Hardman. He's a 99 overall, and he used 255 skill points to his advantage as he maxed out man coverage, zone coverage, and quickness. He put his hands up a little bit and really boosted his run stopping. And then for his abilities, he's got platinum blanket coverage, jammer, house call, gold ball hawk, and platinum knockout. Free safety Cornell Moses is another 99 overall player, and he's at Impact Dev, so I think it's pretty special that we got an Impact guy to 99. And for what he brings to the table, he's got 87 awareness and 91 play rec. He reached his cap in pass coverage with 91 zone and 95 man. Then he maxed out his quickness at 99 speed and 97 acceleration. Then he got to his cap in run support, where he's got 92 pursuit and 89 tackle. And for his abilities, he's got bronze wrap-up, gold knockout, and silver blow-up. Another tremendous season for the Peteytown Piranhas as we won our 9th straight national championship and making that 9 undefeated seasons in a row. And we also moved into second place all time with those 17 national championships. And just so proud of the guys that what they did out there to make it all happen and all the awards and different things that we were able to accomplish this year. But next year is going to be a big one for milestones as we're going to go for 10 straight national championships. And we're also going to try to tie Yale for the most national championships of all time. So very exciting times ahead as we near the final years of this dynasty for the Peteytown Piranhas. I'll see you guys in the next video.